My name is Reyes. I'm a documentary photographer from the Philippines. I am so honored to be this year's Nobel Peace Prize photographer together with Nana Heitman. For me, meeting Maria for this particular commission, of course you're concerned about making sure that you have the right image, but I think a big part of it was also feeling very grateful for the time and feeling grateful to be able to thank her for everything over the last 6 years, and of course just be part of it somehow, because of course her receiving the Peace Prize this year is in many ways the rest of the community feeling like we also won something. I knew from the beginning of the commission that I wanted to photograph people on the other side of the screen. I knew that my role as a photographer was to humanize data, to humanize facts, and I wanted to put a face to the people on the other side of the screen, because that resonated with me during my time photographing. It was just reminding myself constantly that even if you're looking through this trove of information, this trove of noise, so much information, misinformation, disinformation, falsehoods, lies, that on the other side of all of that are people. And I wanted to make sure that when I photographed Maria, she would be photographed in a very similar way as I photographed the rest of the commission. And so I wanted her to be lit by her computer, her phone, her screen, in the same way that the rest of the commission was mainly photographing people from their sources of information. And interestingly, when I was taking her portrait, as soon as her computer was in front of her and as soon as she opened her laptop, she just started working. And it was actually very nice, because then it felt like a much more natural moment than a more like stiff post portrait. The Philippines was famously described by a Facebook executive as patient zero in the disinformation epidemic. And doing this project really allowed me to take a closer look at what that means. And what I realized was the Philippines, while we have free access to Facebook for everybody, it's very expensive to actually check things and back-check things on Google. So you have a society where you can access Facebook for free, but you don't have libraries. You have people who no longer have access to newspapers. You have a society where one of the main news networks, ABS-CBN, was shut down. And so there's no way to cross-check whether something is factual or not. So in many ways, how can you be surprised that this information proliferates, and how could you blame people for not knowing what's true from what's not true? And of course, it's then weaponized by bad actors, by people who insidiously use the lack of infrastructure, who insidiously use the lack of access for their own personal gains. And that's when it really becomes more dangerous.